Garrett, welcome to the Castro Recap Show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Now, this is not an exclusive interview. This is an actual interview for the co-host position that was once taken by Jim Jenks.
Yeah, may he rest in peace.
Yeah, I haven't heard from him in weeks. He says he's got a new job, and today is supposedly his last day.
Well, it's real tough work peddling pies, you know.
Well, I know. He's got a big order,
It's
I
tough
think.
on the hands.
Well, you know, he took another position with the Matt LaRoche Preservation Society.
Chasing Bigfoot.
Yeah, well, because apparently no one can find him. So this new society is focusing on restoring all of Matt's old dwellings from Boston to Wyoming to Portland. So that'll give Jim something to do.
Yeah, well, he's chasing ghosts then, obviously.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about this blockbuster trade that you and Chris were so desperate to put together.
This trade, let me tell you, this is the trade to end all trades. No one has traded this late in the season in Castro before, I'm pretty sure.
I'm just wondering what you're trying to accomplish.
Well, this is going to propel me into the playoffs, of course.
Although, I think that maybe a couple weeks ago, the co-hosts already determined that whoever won that loser bowl was going to go to the playoffs. We'd already wrote you off.
I'm here to tell you that you have to write me back in. Got it for another 6 and 7 season.
Okay.
And I'm going to win out from here on out.
Is Chris going to make it?
No way.
How's Chris doing with that backache?
I think it might have been a fantasy football injury. He might have gone for too many transactions, one too many waiver wire pickups, and, you know, working that mouse is just, it's tough on your back.
What about that Big Ben Witzel?
Yeah, you know, Davis, he's winning this year, but he's got a very long history of losing. First of all, he's going to find a way to lose to me this week. And I think he's going to find a way to drop the ball in the playoffs, too.
He seems way too happy. He's just like skipping around the league.
The snack board's for bitterness, not for happiness.
And then how about his win last week? 75 points, but Matt could only muster like 67. The guy still wins when he can't even, his team sucks.
You had a penchant for winning like that a few years back.
I think I have that right now.
Ties you pulled out based on bench points.
Mm-hmm. Win's a win.
Win's a win, except when it's a really horrible, awful win, like beating LaRoche 75-64.
Would you have cut Adrian Peterson?
Depends. I mean, if I was from Minnesota, probably not.
How about his plea that he needed league compensation for having a number one pick and then having some kind of off-the-field issue?
Pretty weak.
And then he tries to pick him back up. And instead of using his first priority on the waiver wire, he uses his second. He wants to pick up Mark Sanchez first. Then he tries to pick up Adrian Peterson. So Todd picks up Adrian. And my brother then calls me and wants me to do an investigation because he still thinks that he should get AP back.
That just reeks of favoritism. That's not how the commissioner works. We have to make hard decisions every day.
How many times have you said, this is my last year?
Pretty much every week.
Have you had any week where you were like super stoked?
I was super stoked beating the Diz this past week.
Have you looked at the schedule here? Do you have a game of the week?
I'm going to go with the Diz is going to want to bounce back from a really bad loss last week. Versus, our traveling nomad, Asses of Fire. Diz is fighting for a playoff spot. Jenks is fighting to prove that he's not the biggest loser in the league. He's right now sitting at a 5-5 record, which could very easily turn into a 5-8 record and yet another trip to the consolation ladder. History says that Jenks does not have any luck in this league.
The Diz is definitely in trouble. He's lost 4 in a row. I think ever since that interview, he's lost every game.
It's like the Madden curse.
Let's hope so.
I think you might have to change his name back to the Bushmasters. If you're on the losing end, I've always said you look at the transaction counter. It's the losers that are making the most transactions. Although I did check, one coup de grace is leading the league in transactions. And I'm not sure how that happens. 8-2.
Good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you.
We'll see you next week.
Absolutely.